Buckle your seatbelts. We are here right at the finish line of awards season. Movie fans, pop culture fans, welcome to a special edition of Anytime. I am one of your hosts, Alden Diaz, here to discuss the Oscars, the end of a movie season, and the immediate beginning of another movie season, both the final chapters and the tone setting, and I am not alone. No, that is not Ken Knapsack, because Ken does not watch a lot of movies. He's a very local guy. He will be the first one to tell you he doesn't watch movies. If we do a wrap up on like his MLB The Show like franchise mode, I think that's what it's called, then he'll be here in a heartbeat. But I brought in one of my brothers in cinema, one of my favorite people to talk about art with. You know him from the Imperial Senate podcast, from our work on Casually Talk Together on Octo Radio, my other show. It is Nicky Kumar.
Hello, everybody. Excited to talk about some good movies that we had the past year, and some winners and some losers.
And some winners and some losers. Yeah. I will say right off the top, probably I saw the word unimpeachable being thrown around, and I'm not 100% sure if that's true, but I think this is the most, not safe. Safe's not the word either, but the most like generally pleasing Oscars that has happened in a while in terms of wins.
Yeah.
There's no Crash, right? There's no Green Book. There's no anything, or there's no like egregious snub or we don't hate this, but like who the hell even saw that, or who the hell saw that coming as a result. This was pretty much like we're here to celebrate these movies, and they're the ones that won.
Yeah, I think like definitely. I mean, we did a sort of ESPN. Bet thing, like systemized bet with some of our friends, and I don't think we missed that many. I think the highest score was like 18 out of 21 or something. Like it was not like super far away. We all and our spread was pretty close, so it's like I think a lot of the things we thought would go forward ended up doing that. There are, of course, it's like I don't want to say controversial, but it's like there's the one award that I'm sure we'll get to that I think we were both like, but so like there's a little bit of that. I don't remember last year being too crazy. I know there are a few that are like, but yeah, I think I could generally agree that this one felt like it pretty much went to plan.
I agree, and it was satisfying. And let's talk about that feeling, the overall feeling. You and I are both those people, and Ken used to be this person. If you keep up with the live show, I think on our past episode prior to this recording, Ken talked about back in the day being the guy that always watched and had his pick card and everything. And like you said, we are still those people doing our picks, and we love the Oscars. You and I talk about Oscar speeches. We talk about moments from Oscar speeches or presentations and things, and so we love this stuff. We keep up with the trivia of it. In terms of the show itself, whether that's Kimmel or the way that categories were presented, or the in memoriam actually has been a little bit controversial. That's probably the part that people have picked up the most. How did you feel about the actual show, as a live production?
I think I'm still recovering from the COVID Oscars that was in that I don't even know what it was. It looked like a restaurant, and with
like
the
a
little
prom ballroom.
With the tables and the awful decision to put Best Actor last, and like all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I think I'm still recovering from that. So anytime I see the Dolby Theater, I'm like, thank God, like thank God we're back. So there's a bit of that. I do sort of agree with the in memoriam. I thought the the musical stuff was great.
Yeah. You cannot be disappointed in Andrea Bocelli.
No, that's kind of, and with that song, and it's like that's kind of right there to be done. I think like the dancers maybe a little much. I think the Vietnam memorial style like wall of names.
Yeah,
I don't think that was great.
Yeah, because then it's like who gets the feature and who gets the wall.
I always wonder that even in a more general sense, like who's allowed to be in the in memoriam versus who's not. Like
Yeah, like
there's
in terms
plenty
of
of
guilds.
people. Yeah, there's plenty of
Hmm.
people who I'm sure don't get on. I'm sure there's been cases in the past where people are like, what about this person?
There was, I
Um,
believe, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was when Adam West died.
mhm,
He wasn't at the Academy one, and it was because of like the way that things worked out with like the SAG and the Emmys, and like it was more of a TV thing. Like
I see.
it's
Yeah,
almost like they get claims over who did more
right.
of what sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess there's probably it's such a like strange thing to say, but it's like there's probably some politics involved in getting who's gonna be memorialized and who's not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it might have been a little busy, but otherwise the in memoriam I think was quite good. Um,
Hmm.
and then yeah, the show in general I thought was really quite good. I don't remember the last time they did it, but having the 5 previous winners all
It's the
sort of
best.
like all sort of speak to one of the current nominees was really good, really touching. I don't know if they went for like friendships or not. I think some of them they did, maybe others they were just kind of like lining up vibes. But
Hmm.
but yeah, I thought that was wonderful. I think there's something about whether it's fans or an academy or whatever, I think being complimented by your peers is kind of like the top thing
Yeah.
to
Is there one
feel.
that sticks out to you in terms of a connection moment or a tribute? Because I think they're
Uh
more, on the whole, I think they're more effective than even clips. I think this is the
yeah.
best.
Yeah. Was there one that stood out? I because I don't have an answer, no. So like,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
mean they were all good. Like I don't remember one that was. I guess the one that I think of the most now is the Tim Robbins saying you won, like
Hmm.
you were winning, or deserving of this award. So
Yeah.
it's like only the flubbed one I kind of remember, but I just remember feeling like this must be very special. I think the ones where people like started tearing up were good. It's like I think Sterling K. Brown and I
Yeah.
think Emily Blunt was pretty um, sort of taken by that. So yeah, I think those are like the really good things. I think that's a very good thing they did for this show.
Agreed. I love those moments. I was a particular fan. The ones you said are great. Sterling and Kihi Kwan, great.
Mm-hmm.
The share, like you said, the shared vibe, like Kihi Kwan talking about the long journey to get to that place that they
Yeah,
share. I loved Christoph Waltz talking about Ryan Gosling as Ken,
yeah,
because what a
yeah,
weird choice it is, but it fits. He's the
yeah.
exact type of actor that would get that.
Considering the
Um,
character he won his Oscar for, his first Oscar for, versus Ken the doll.
it's like what? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty wild. I loved all that. In terms of like, they didn't do a lot of bits. They
Mm-hmm.
had every song performed, which is pretty much a standard at this point. Kimmel is dependable. Like Kimmel
Yeah.
is inoffensive. Kimmel, he seems like a nice gentleman. I don't know him. Hi, Jimmy. The like, you got jokes that completely whiff, but like okay, like it wasn't horrendous. Like I think that there were some segments like the trying to emphasize how writers are important by having bad dialogue, and then with Melissa McCarthy and Octavia Spencer, it's like
Mm-hmm.
okay, those are two people that I know are extremely talented, so maybe it's not landing the way you
Yeah.
guys think.
Yeah.
But Kimmel, there's some people litigating whether or not you should have joked about Robert Downey Jr.'s past. That can all be debated. We're not here to do that, but it's like he's the thing that you just throw in because you got no one else, and he's on the ABC payroll, and he's not going to
Mm-hmm.
screw it up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. He's one of those things now where it's like he's seasoned and like
mhm.
that's all they like probably really want. They don't want a risk, like you
No,
said. Like he's safe and they know he can handle it. The fact that he handled the Moonlight La La Land debacle, like I think
yeah,
that probably earned him like a 7-year contract. So it's like yeah, would I like to see other people? Of course. Like we know they're great people. Um,
hmm
you know,
one of whom it seems like auditioned
yeah,
mid-show,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's Mulaney. For those that might have watched, he did a presentation for sound design, and managed to do essentially a minute of stand-up just summarizing Field of Dreams, which, you know, it got the biggest laugh of the night, like, because it was about it was for movie people,
right?
And that's the thing.
And we'd seen him. Was it the Directors Guild Awards? Like
the
outright,
governors,
okay.
Yeah,
he'd outright hosted it, and this was the night after Joe Coy, I think. Or like the next couple nights. And you know, there was already so much conversation about what a comedian can do in the room full of celebrities, because it is tough. Like I empathize with the job. You have to make people chill out, who several of whom are only thinking, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I have an award coming up. Like, it's a hard thing to do. It's like doing a open mic night in front of only other performers. Like, they're not concerned about your bit. Like they're thinking about their own one. So it's like, I empathize, but because there was so much about the Joe Coy show at the Golden Globes, Mulaney came in that night and absolutely classily just owned it. So I think someone like him would be great. In my head, I'm always like, what's wrong with Billy Crystal? Come on.
Billy Crystal, like, and then like your other best choices are probably tied up. Like they'll never pick Colbert because he's not on that network. You know, it's just like some things are just realities. But yeah, so I think tonally we both were pretty satisfied with it. It wasn't a spectacular show in that regard, but it was fine. And what I am glad about is that they've abandoned seemingly the chasing like crap that they were doing. Like
that's a really like egregious one.
Moment, fan vote, you know, this, you know, they didn't do blockbuster achievement like the Globes did. Like they seem like they are like, not that is irredeemable, because I do think that Greta Gerwig handled that well, and Margot when they won that, but you're not going to gain. This is not Taylor Swift going to the game and bringing her audience to the game. Like, these are famous hot people. These are talented individuals. These are musicians, performers, directors. They're there. This is for people that already love this to a certain degree, that chasing the elusive casual is just like, for what?
I think that's sort of similar to going back to Kimmel. Like, the thing I noticed, it's like ever since Ellen took that selfie, they've been just, again, chasing the viral moment too, like the viral bit. And I don't really remember that. Maybe like the John Cena stuff, but like I don't remember too many things where I felt like, oh, this is kind of like, this is annoying, right? Like I didn't feel that necessarily. And yeah, like maybe the Cena one is like the closest thing to that, but I feel like that's sort of been not a plague upon the recent Oscars, but everybody's just been sort of trying to get that thing, because the Ellen selfie was like quite like a huge moment. And
it felt like something she just did.
It
was very whatever, and that was, you know, you had to turn your phone a certain way. Like it was a different time. That selfie has aged in interesting ways. With some of those parties. But so I agree. I think that it emphasized what you want is something that emphasizes movies. I will say, presentation wise, first award we can highlight, this is not one of the big five. We will be hitting the big five in this conversation, which are picture, director, actor, actress, screenplay, which is, you know, has its two branches. We'll hit a few more. One of the extras that I'll touch on, because it ties in with presentation, is animated. We got to cut the it's for kids shit. We got to stop it. Like I reshared the essay from, I think, 2 years ago that Lord and Miller released, the op-ed of like, come on. It's so, and it wasn't even like a clever one. It was just,
they never are.
I know your kids. Right. Yeah. I know your kids voted for this one. Just, bro, like there are people there that you do that with Del Toro on stage? No, you would not. You know, just because last year it was stop motion and it was Guillermo, it does not change anything.
The Boy and the Heron is not a kids movie.
No, it's not. That too. That's a great point.
Yeah,
it happened to be with probably one of their more thoughtful winners, with a legend of the industry in the twilight of not just his career but his life. And you're like, ooh, the kids.
Yeah, it's not good. And like, I remember the other really egregious one, and like, I don't blame them because they just go up and they're told what to say. But I think they had put the like three actresses who had played live action sort of Disney cartoon princesses. So I think it was like Lily James, it was like Naomi Scott maybe, and like these kind of like people. And they just went off on like, oh yeah, it's something you like put in front of the kids to keep them quiet. Like, like, come on, like they're never good. It's such, again, like you said, like it's such an old, tired, dumb, frankly, mentality. And for whatever reason, whoever comes up with the jokes for the Oscar show has nothing else to say about animation. And I don't know how we fix that, but yeah, it is absolutely just, it's so over. Like, just please stop.
It's over. It's over.
Yeah,
it's Jover. We don't want it anymore. But congratulations to Mr. Miyazaki-san for Boy and the Heron, which is a beautiful film. We both really enjoyed it. We both talked about it ad nauseum in private, not on air. If you're like, oh, where do they talk about it? We didn't. Just in text. But where all conversations should probably be. But it was a really great film, and we're very excited for that. So, presentation stuff pretty much out of the way. I'm sure more will come up, and we're going to talk about I'm Just Ken. Don't worry, like that's coming, because that all the song performances were at least they ranged from good to great, and then that one is just sensational.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. But Big Five, I don't have an order in mind, although we're going to save actress. I think we actress last.
Okay.
So let's go with supporting actor, probably the biggest gimme of the entire season, in the best way, just like the most foregone conclusion. Well, Davon Joy Randolph became a foregone conclusion, but from the second Oppenheimer release, people were at the urinals after the screening on day one, like, he's winning. Yep, he's winning. People were throwing away their empty popcorn buckets, like, yep, there it is, slam dunk, best supporting. It was never in doubt. It was a category full of just delicious performances, just wonderful stuff.
One of the best categories, I think.
Just stacked. Just complete. I mean, Ruffalo doing work I did not think he could ever do. I did not see him the way I saw him in Poor Things, or Sterling in American Fiction, just like heartbreaking stuff. And who else is in supporting? De Niro, my God. Just chilling. And then also in supporting is, of course, the man himself, Ken, who we will talk about, or Ryan, not Ken, the doll, or Ken Knapsack. All great. But Robert Downey Jr., I mean, this was it's weird because we almost felt like Avengers Endgame was the bow on the comeback. And now it's like, no. This is the bow on the comeback.
Yeah.
When he took that beat before going on stage and just looked at everybody and like did the jokey little Nixon, I think he did, or whatever. That was just like, damn, here we are.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, it is a long time coming. He's always been talented, right? Nobody's ever been able to, ever deny that. And I think, like, again, speaking to tired jokes, I guess, it's like people have tried to undervalue his career doing 10 years of Marvel, which is just weird. Like, it'll always be weird. Apparently some performances don't count,
exactly,
right?
It was a great comeback narrative until Endgame happened, and then it was not good.
So I think it's something that I think it's like, so long time deserved. I think people have been a fan of this guy for a long time. No, he has always sort of been the level of actor that can and should be getting Oscar nominations for performances and roles that deliver that. And I think, yeah, having when you finish Oppenheimer, he is the standout. Like he just kind of is. Not to say Killian or anyone else isn't up there, but I think there is just a level of, oh my god, with Robert Downey Jr. Because he really does access something different. And even down to the look, right? Like he's was he wearing like a bald cap or something? I don't know how they like
shaved. They shaved the center, and actually they actually made the haircut.
Yeah, so he went that far and really transformed into this guy who he is like, does not really resemble and
not at all,
not really played that type of role, right? Like this sort of vindictive, non-charismatic kind of like, he's got a charisma of sorts, but like it's very sort of I don't know what the right word is. Like it's sort of a petty charisma.
He's very petty.
Yeah. And so yeah, like just to see him access something that he hadn't really done maybe in a while or ever, and for Christopher Nolan to acknowledge that and say, I think you can do it. Like, I think this has you all over it, but yeah, you're going to go somewhere new. I think it is just incredibly deserving of the Oscar, and no surprise in the end.
Indeed. It was just beautiful stuff. I completely agree with everything you said. I think that this was transformative for him, but also personally. You could feel that. You could feel him recognizing the moment. He's joked about it during the award season that the reason why it worked is because Christopher Nolan would tell him, like, I want to do something that you haven't done. I want you to play against type. And I think it was the SAG Awards speech where he said that Nolan would give him his favorite director's note, which was like, let's do another one with less on it. Like, which is so both of them, right? Like that's such a Nolan direction, and it is such a thing to say to Robert, because Robert will always put a little sauce on everything that he does, and Strauss is not that guy. Louis Strauss he's Salieri. He is, like you said, there is a charisma and a calculating quality, the ability to work people, but it's always big fish, small pond. He's that type of thing. Whereas, Cillian Murphy's performance, which we'll talk about, is the world. It's a world-changing individual, whereas Strauss is a footnote in his story. Right. And it really felt,
but also powerful. Ran.
Right.
No, it's a incredible story, both for Robert Downey Jr. and Strauss. Like the biography of the man is pretty wild, and like to be able to pair that in that story with that actor, it's top-notch work.
Indeed. And so we loved that for him. Great speech, very funny as always, very heartfelt, because even though he is, and he would say this, I think, he's not really like Tony Stark, there are cadence things that you can't take away where you're just like, that's the guy. Like he's just
they melted into each other.
There is a lot of melting. Okay, so moving over, we'll go our other supporting category. The illustrious, just moved me to tears with her power, Davon Joy Randolph, who is one of those great working actors that was in this thing and this thing. She was in Dolomite Is My Name. She was in the High Fidelity reboot that they did. And she was started off on stage and had worked in the West End and has been on this sweep of every single award show, Critics Association, Guild, has rallied behind this performance. It was the hype of her performance that got me to watch Holdovers. And I think that her performance emphasizes in a way that I do like how different all four of the acting winners are and what they had to do. This is probably the most understated, like raw human performance of all of them, where I can't say that this character Mary is calculating or methodical. She's not that type. She's not certainly not a Bella Baxter type character. And she's not tortured in the same ways that Killian had to play. This is like a torture that we have all gone through or will go through within a period, and she's the heart of that movie. I was very happy for her.
Yeah, again, just a super performance in not a category that you walk through easily, right?
Nope.
Like, again, like considering who she was nominated with, like
Jodie Foster in that category, Emily, like it was really, really stacked in a big way.
Yeah, so like to be able to go through this whole award season and collect them like Infinity Stones, you know, it's a special thing, right? Like, you know, that's it. And yeah, like The Holdovers is in its own way, like such a true representation of people. It's like watching those three of them, like the three main characters together. It's just like watching people. Like it's so well acted and written that I'm like, these aren't characters. Like, these are just very specific people. And you know, she's obviously a huge part of that. And yeah, just it's so her performance is so painful, but so like gentle and hopeful too. That yeah, it's impossible to not be moved by what she did, and also to like to look at her career and not be moved by that. And you know, this isn't somebody who has, you know, several times nominated, finally chosen, right? Like it's nothing like that. And you know, we have a lot of discussions about the sort of roles that are available to people of color, and a lot of them are not kind of the award caliber ones, right? Like that's such a like a big thing. I think she even talked about how Lupita Nyong'o won her Oscar, and it's like, obviously we know she's done great stuff, but like where's she been since?
Yeah, she had
like when it comes to
she had to do the slave role.
Yeah,
and then they've overlooked her range,
right?
Because they felt like she did the most tortured thing that a Black performer can do, and same with Chiwetel. Has Chiwetel had a nomination since 12 Years a Slave? I don't believe so. It's definitely valid. I mean, they gave her this character with Mary, who was a mom in a period piece in a holiday comedy, who had the they all have different types of funny, but she is more of a cutting funny, but she's vulnerable. Like, she has might be my favorite single line outside of maybe Maestro has my favorite single line, but regardless, the top 3 of the year, when she looks at Giamatti and says, "You can't even dream a whole dream," like that, rocked me, and it's because of her. It's so good. Yeah, we love her. I love what she talked about in her speech of forging her own path and realizing that sometimes you have to make it for yourself, especially if you're coming from any kind of marginalized community. And it was just beautiful to see, and beautiful to see a new face arrive in that way. People that are not new faces, but in some ways have arrived. That is also a category. You know, the people you talked about just now, like nominated all these times, or even not nominated. And that, we're talking about Cillian Murphy. This is a guy that has been there for people in our age group, that late 20s, early 30s age group. Cillian Murphy has been it's him in so many movies.
It's so true.
Like,
it's so true.
Especially if you're a comic book kid, like he's was in 3 Batman films, and then like, oh, I really like Christopher Nolan. What's he making now? Then you're going to see him a few more times. And he's been in all these things, and lots of Irish films and British films, and Peaky Blinders got huge, and it seemed like, oh, Peaky Blinders, he's finally a lead. Like, maybe that's as big as it'll get. Nope. And Christopher Nolan finally came out to him with this last thing. I mean, I don't know what else to say about Oppenheimer, the role. I should preface this by saying, like, would I have sold my soul for Bradley Cooper to get this? Yes. Yes, I should put that out there.
Yeah.
But I also the reason I don't want to like waste time with the why I think Bradley Cooper was great is because I just you can feel even when you believe in something as thoroughly as you and I both believe in that movie, whose year it is, right? You can feel that sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was just, it's not that Bradley didn't win anything. I think he squeaked out some Critics Association awards and things, but like this was Cillian as close to a clean sweep as you can get in lead. He's deserving. That's the thing. On the night of, we both said there's only winners here. Like, it's gonna be Cillian, Giamatti, or Cooper.
Yeah,
and I'll be happy with any of those. I also, of course, huge love to Jeffrey Wright. And am I forgetting somebody?
Coleman Domingo
and Coleman. I still haven't seen Rustin.
Me neither. Yeah,
because Coleman Domingo is great in everything that he's in. So definitely have to check out Rustin. And Cillian. I mean, if you haven't seen Oppenheimer by now, I'm surprised that you clicked this. Hello. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Go.
A necessary film, and one of the better biopics ever made, and I'd say one of the best historical dramas I've ever seen.
Definitely. Oppenheimer is one of those ones that, like, once I saw it, I mean, we'll get more into this when we talk about picture, but like, it was very hard to dethrone Oppenheimer once I'd seen it, as in terms of like, what did I like the most this year? And like Cillian is, I love your point about like how long he's just been that guy, and especially with Nolan. I mean, it goes back to 2005, right? Like, with the whole, he was almost Batman sort of, and but was so good. It was
20 years and 6 pictures, I think is what Cillian said.
Yeah. But like, like he was still so good, if not right for Batman in the end, that he had to still be in that movie. Right. And so to be popping up just throughout. And then, I think there's something really special about having gone on that journey with Christopher Nolan specifically. And it's like, I won't say he found him, but it's like, they started there kind of small, kept going along. I mean, his role in Inception is amazing. And it's just all these not bit parts necessarily, but like not the guy. And then
always small, like minor to supporting.
Yeah.
Like, even in Dunkirk, when he's in the whole thing, everyone's interspersed in that movie, and so it's just like I don't even know who I would say is the lead of Dunkirk. It's very much an ensemble.
It's very tough to say, but I think it's just very special to have gone on such a long journey with a fellow, like collaborator, filmmaker, and for your friend to give you the one that ultimately wins you all the awards. Like, it must be very special. And I think that's why those, like, Oppenheimer pulling in picture, director, actor, it's almost like the perfect, trifecta for the two of them as collaborators for 20 years and then as first time Oscar winners.
Yeah. So I said big five, and I ended up throwing in supporting anyway, because we had come out of animated, but the actual big five: actor, picture, we'll continue to talk about Oppenheimer, director. So that's 3 right there. The 3 that you just mentioned. It's hard to argue against any of them. And when you factor it in those terms, Nolan's journey, 8 nominations, and then he gets here. Cillian's journey of the 20-year career with Nolan, and then when you add in picture and the fact that the producers, except for picture, you also add Emma Thomas, who is married to Christopher Nolan, and they've been a team since college, and married, and their parents, and so it's like this family affair plus Cillian as like the uncle, as like the adopted brother or the uncle. Like, it was so cool to see them get those in particular. That way, it could be that team. Not to say like if it had happened another way, it would be less cool. But like if Killian loses and let's say like Emily Blunt wins, it's
Mhm.
like, okay, well they added Emily to the family recently, so it doesn't
Yeah.
have the same like mythology for
Right.
that
Right.
crew of friends. But yeah, I really loved that. I mean, we could just lump in now director and picture and just talk
Mhm.
about that achievement, because like I don't know if anyone on YouTube needs to like pontificate more about how great Christopher Nolan is, because I don't
Mhm.
have anything original to say.
Yeah.
I will just say that me personally, this is like right now, right underneath Inception for my favorite Nolan. And I'm happy he got it for this, because it is, in my opinion, the most tuned into his actors I think he's ever been.
Yeah.
And it was like, Interstellar and Dunkirk and like Tenet. These are all like technical achievements and with tons of heart, but like they're massive. And like Oppenheimer's massive too, but the real power is in offices and classrooms and a lab.
Mhm.
Like it's
Yeah.
just so conversation driven, and yeah, there's just great stuff. Can't be mad at it.
No, I think like when I saw it, I think I would still say like yeah, Inception's probably still my favorite, but I think like just when I look at all the stars aligning, I was like,
Mhm.
this is his best work. Like it just
Yeah.
like it's so much of it is, I mean, and the script itself is a work of art in the
Mhm.
use of first person, and um, just to like, it just to watch that movie and think about how Christopher Nolan crafts his movies, how he thinks about it, how his intentionality and just like simple things that seem simple to us but like are not simple, or they
Mhm.
they come across like it's just like it's awe-inspiring to watch Oppenheimer and be like, okay, this is a thing this industry can do. Right,
Yeah.
like this is something that can happen. And yeah, it's powerful. It's yeah, like a tour de force for so many cast members. um and for Nolan, I remember, there's that one scene. I still consider it the best scene of 2023, of the sort of um, victory speech,
Mm.
um, in
After the
terms of
test.
after
Or no,
no, I think after the
after it fell.
bombing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
After it fell. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Where everybody who's seen it knows it's like, the sound cuts out. There's all sorts of this, and he's visualizing the effects of this
The burning
weapon,
body
right?
and
Burning body, like flesh peeling off, people sick, like that. I remember watching that scene and being like, oh my god, Nolan just entered God mode. Like he
Mhm.
just accessed something that is so powerful and like specific, and it's like it's one of those scenes that went into my scene like Hall of Fame for scenes, where it's like I wonder what it's like to sort of like go to sleep at night and be
Mhm.
like, I wrote and directed that.
Mhm.
I
Much
wonder
like
what that.
much like Emma Seligman with Bottoms,
Of course, yeah.
which was
Through
not
most of it.
nominated, but deserves. If this is gonna be a movie episode, god
Yeah,
damn it,
yeah.
Bottoms. No, I
It's
completely understand what you're saying. It's one of the most sickening, but also like operatic things that I've seen, which the
mhm,
movie does very well in a few different places. That the motif of the blinding light, like in the interrogation, and just like the deafening qualities, the way that he was able to create a visual language with Robert's perception of of the science, I guess, to put it in simple terms. Like every time that they show us a practically done
yeah.
effect of like a particle, moving on, it's something that to visually engage you, that is threaded out through the trauma, through the interrogation, through the actual test itself, the way that was shot. Like
Mhm,
it's insane. And on just like a human note, because we had the main episode of Anytime talking about like the human stories and why this stuff matters outside of just
mhm,
gold and everything. Like, which I hope is coming across here too. Like, neither of us really give a damn about the actual wins and losses. We're just like so invested in these stories, which is
yeah,
how you should always approach an award show,
yeah.
in my opinion. When it comes to Nolan, everything that we've discussed and everything that we know about him, and the complicated nature of his filmography and the size of his films. I think and his overt Britishness and his like, I don't have a cell phone, I don't use email, I don't do anything like that. You would think he might be a prickly asshole, and yet jolly, just like a delightful gentleman. And
he's having a good time,
and everyone says it, and it's like after a while, at this point, something would have come out of like, he's a dick. Nope. It's like he has word economy with his notes and his guidance, but wants everybody to really engage and feel good and try and experiment. There's an effortlessness to what he does. I hope one day that we can get a documentary like on HBO called Nolan, where we get to see some B-roll and everything. That's another thing too, is that his films he is not George Lucas. He is not like, come look at all this.
You don't get to look behind the curtain.
Yeah. So maybe one day, but very deserved. Do you have anything else to add about the picture?
I was just gonna say, like, even with the sort of special effects of, people would be like, how did you do that? And he's like, we have many ways. Right? It's just like that coyness, but also like, it's so delightful. And like, I just really admire him in terms of his career. He really is one of our 21st century greats. And like even just little things where I remember in an interview somebody asked him about like, how did you get the Trinity test sort of like effect, the visual effect, like how did you do that? And he said just casually, he was like, so we knew we didn't want to have sound in that scene. And I'm like, when did you decide that? Like how like what goes into your brain process, right?
Brain.
It's like, and he said it just so casually. He's like, well, we knew we didn't want sound for a bomb explosion. So it's like, I love that side of the art. I love, we overuse the word genius, but like, but every great director has it. So it's a very special film, and one that definitely, like, it enters a great pantheon for me of wow, we did it.
Indeed. Yeah, I think that's the perfect note to finish up our little Oppenheimer segment with these 4 categories of supporting actor, director, picture, and leading actor. So with all 4 of those categories and Dave Vine, that leaves us with 2 more. Let's jump over to screenplay. Now, I'll quickly do Anatomy of a Fall because at present you still haven't seen it yet, correct?
No.
So Anatomy of a Fall, I will just say very quickly, is entirely, I think, deserving of this award. Justine Triet is amazing. And pardon me while I Google her husband's name, because I feel like I'm going to confuse him with someone else and I really don't want to. Justine Triet is married to Arthur Harari. See, Harari got in my brain, and I was going to say like Harrison or something. So Arthur Harari and Justine Triet are married, and they co-wrote this film about a trial in which a woman may or may not have murdered her husband. So that's got to be an interesting thing to co-write together. And since then,
I had a great idea.
Yeah, right. Like who's like eating like so. Since this, Steven Spielberg has seen the film and approached them, I think, at one of the luncheons, and then wants them to write a screenplay for him. So if that's not like one of the biggest endorsements of all time, it's amazing. There are portions of it in English, portions of it in French. This is where Messi the dog did his incredible performance. And I shit you not, that dog gives a mortifying performance. Like it is it's training, it's not acting. I know that, but
people go to acting school.
Yeah, like
right. They're trained.
It's wild. So definitely check this out. I'm not just going to do a whole speech about it now, but the dialogue is sensational, which it has in common with Cord Jefferson's American Fiction, which was a film that you saw before me, and you were immediately like, paraphrasing, but I remember your reaction being like, damn, like the ending, it was like they landed this plane like so perfectly, and then I finally saw it and I was like, wow, like that it has an energy that sometimes Oscar fare doesn't.
Yeah.
It's keenly self-aware. It's socially like not wrathful, but it's got a
Biting,
lot of
I'd
kick.
say.
Biting is a
Yeah.
great word. Yeah, and I really am happy for Cord on a debut
Yeah.
feature.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, no, I remember as soon as I saw American Fiction, I talked earlier today about it was a hard task to topple Oppenheimer off the top, but if anyone got close, it was American Fiction. That one for me was a huge movie. And I remember watching it and just being like, this is my favorite script of the year. And I don't know, I didn't expect like an Oscar for it necessarily. But I am incredibly glad to have had wrong assessment of that. Because yeah, like there were so many things. Even back to Sterling K. Brown, like I remember seeing that movie and be like, that was deserving of a nomination. Will he get it? I don't know. And then sort of the gratification of him being recognized for that was very cool. And yeah, like Cord Jefferson's script is of course based off a book that I think is like 20 something years old. Like
Yeah.
the book has been around a
2001.
while. Yeah. And for that, the themes there to translate so effortlessly into Cord Jefferson's script and into our modern society and how people, work and react and make assumptions and, just the whole cultural, appropriation aspect of what this film explores. It was just it felt like something I hadn't seen in a long time, if ever. And I think with that, it's like, again, like when I think about like my own writing sensibilities, I feel like that it just had like the perfect blend of everything I like. Like it had absurd humor, it had genuine heart, it had something really profound and like not like difficult to express, right? Like it's not an easy topic. And I think that's why the ending is so good, because it's like, I don't know the answers, right? Like, it's like this workshopping of outcomes. And so it's like, yeah, it's such a good film. And if you haven't seen it, please go see it. It's on MGM Plus. I know that much. And
their only subscriber, Nikki Kumar.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a special movie. And Cord Jefferson, a real G, on his acceptance speech, talked about something we've talked about forever. Loads of people have talked about forever. Big movies are also risks. And, instead of making the 200 million, why don't you make 10 million? And he broke it up into those sort of fractions. But like we all know the middle movie's been killed. We all know how we can't just, it's like everything has to be boom or bust. It has to make $1 billion or it sucks.
And yet look at all these middle movies that find their people and get celebrated and get this love, and they still don't learn. It's just, so it's like, he spoke on something that needed to be spoken on in his work and on stage. And he seems like a brilliant guy. Great interview on Daily Show as well. And know that we had seen that one a few weeks ago. So really looking forward to whatever Cord does next. Both screenplays extremely solid. So
the offers will be coming in.
Oh, hell yeah. For all these people. Like Robert Downey Jr. doesn't have to worry about offers, and neither does Nolan. But I'm excited now for like Davine and even Killian. Like you now there's those rumblings. Like, does Barbara Broccoli want Killian to be James Bond? It's like, I don't know if I want that, but I would love for them to ask him.
Yeah, talk about it.
Like, have the conversation.
Something. So in one of my classes, we had the writer of Dallas Buyers Club come, and since that was the nominee, he talked about being nominated, and he was like, yeah, I had offers for the next 5 years, like just off the nomination, right? Like, it's almost like once you're nominated, you won for your career. Like,
it's in your billing forever.
Yeah. So it's a big deal to get nominated. And so
Bradley
yeah.
Cooper, 12-time nominee, baby, 12
Yeah.
times. We'll get there, Bradley.
We
We will
will.
get there. The internet already loves Bradley again because of that Abbott Elementary cameo, which is killing me because I just suffered.
Yeah.
I suffered as a Maestro fan.
Yeah.
I hope someone said that. I did. I suffered, damn it, because the summer sings in me. Okay. Actress. This is one of those. For actor, we said like there are only winners here.
Yeah.
That is still true, comma, however.
Yeah, from simply performance
In
and
terms
personality.
of the work,
Yeah.
I use the word unimpeachable at the beginning of this. Emma Stone is unimpeachable.
Yeah.
Emma Stone has nothing to do with any hesitance that I feel whatsoever. Because so help me God, we both saw Poor Things, and what that woman did as Bella Baxter is unreal. It is 5 performances in one. Yeah. It is, and when you know it was shot at a sequence, as most films are, like the amount of work she had to put in to keep her mental state in line based on where she was in the shoot, like insane. And so I want to say, I think we both agree. If you have anything to add about her, we can talk about it. Not that I want to undercut Emma, I don't, but they are intertwined conversations. This is phenomenal work. This is beautiful work. This is hilarious work. I mean, instantly quotable movie character for the ages. Like, I need to go punch that baby. Like, there are things all throughout this film that are instantly good, and she deserves it. And she's a 2-timer now, and I think this is even better than her performance in La La Land, which I already really like. Just phenomenal. Seems like a beautiful human being. Been a fan of Emma Stone. So I can't say since Superbad because I didn't see that in theaters. But 2 years, I did see The Rocker in theaters.
Oh, okay.
Rainn Wilson and Josh Gad. But yeah, to see her from Superbad to now is pretty surreal. All that being said, there are moments that I think, and maybe you have better wording for this, are not foregone conclusions, although that's part of it. When the cultural and pop cultural and societal cards all align. It's like what I imagine, like when you pull a tarot deck and you're immediately like bam, 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 and it's like all good shit. That's how it felt in terms of Lily Gladstone's chances and her run. And we should note, won the SAG Award, so clearly her peers agree. And again, not to take away from Emma, because they both got the Globe. So it's like it was always the two of them doing this dance. Yeah, and they split it evenly. They split the trophies evenly. But it just felt like this was going to be the monumental, like, star-born, cemented, made thing. And of course it still is. And you could see Scorsese like giving her a hug and talking to her after. And in that clip, it looks like Scorsese is counting. So I would imagine he was like, look, I got nominated 1, 2, 3 times before they like you could imagine what he was saying. Tell me your thoughts on sort of where we are and this unique type of disappointment that has nothing to do with the actual winner.
It's so weird. Because I was in a similar place in terms of that last year with Brendan Fraser and Austin Butler, where it was like, because I hadn't actually seen Elvis and I've not seen The Whale either, but I just love Brendan Fraser, and I hadn't seen either one yet. But I was like, I love him. He deserves this. Then I saw clips from Elvis and I was like, holy crap. Like, this guy's doing some acting. So it's like, I had the same feeling of like, I don't know where it's going to go. And I'll be happy either way kind of thing. But this one had that extra element of, I didn't know where it was going to go. And I really, really, really wanted one to get it. And I think it's like, it's a weird thing because it's again, not a clear line. But in moments like the Oscars, you have a chance to surpass and ascend past the award show, right? Like we do want to say it's about the work, but also there are times where it can be about more than the work, right?
Which we always highlight those. Like it's
yeah,
like Frances McDormand comes to mind of talking about inclusion writers in her speech,
yeah,
or the firsts, which
yeah,
this would have been. That
right.
we've had an indigenous nominee,
Mm-hmm.
but we have not had, and that was God. I apologize because I should speak Spanish and I don't. Ulicia from Roma.
Right.
She got nominated, but that's the distinction. She's from Mexico, so that's an
Yeah,
indigenous North American, but this is
yeah,
the first Native American.
right. And
And
for a movie about so much of like what was taken, right?
yes,
And
yeah,
and it's again, it's like, and then you have just the visual of I can't remember her name, but
oh,
the native,
Sasheen Littlefeather,
yeah, who accepted on behalf of Marlon Brando, like to
yeah,
go
at
from
this award show,
the
yeah,
shameful booing of her to Best Actress winner Lily Gladstone. Like that is a narrative you can't ignore that. You can't escape that.
and that
It was
would have
there to
been
be
like
done.
that would have been the thing. By the way, it's Yalitza Aparicio. I knew it was something with an A. Aparicio. Apologies, Miss Aparicio. But yeah, it's like, yeah, it was just right
It was
there.
even different to the Chadwick Boseman, Anthony Hopkins stuff, because I know people were pretty elevated in expressing sort of their views on that too. And like that I know, I understand that too, where it's like they moved the award to the end. It was kind of clear they were thinking this would be a great time,
confident,
to like honor him. And then and similarly, it's like I think it was Colbert, like when Anthony Hopkins was on I think it was Colbert, and where he's like, I think this is the greatest performance you've ever given in your career, which is saying a lot for Anthony Hopkins. So it's like,
it just so happens
to
have
like
collided.
The work was true. Like you can't fault that. And I think even this one's even bigger than honoring just Chadwick. Like this one is like, I don't know, like it
was a cultural, like, not to say that it would have enacted justice, but it would have been the closing of a loop and the putting this shameful thing on the shelf. We're not going to act like it's not there, but we're going to put it up because now they're here. We're no longer holding up our blinders and acting like, we did a shameful thing and we'll hire you now, but we're still not going to give you the awards. Like, no, it would have been no more bullshit. We're here at the table, especially with like the Osage Nation performers being there, and Lily going out of her way to highlight indigenous and native reporters on the red carpet. Like, and to her credit, what a class act! Like, not an ounce of disappointment. Like, I saw a tweet that was like, Lily Gladstone, like, I wonder how she's doing or whatever, and it was her with like the star sunglasses and like just like she clearly you can see has that mentality.
At the sort of after party, the red carpet for the after party, still glowing, still everything you would you come to understand about her. And
noted
also to Emma's credit,
Ewoks and fan.
100%. To Emma's credit, it was a great acceptance speech, and I think in its own way acknowledged sort of the moment that Lily Gladstone was in as well.
Yeah, it was without setting her aside from the pack. It was, this person, and Lily, I share this with you. Like, it was a very classy way to deliver it while she was very flustered and her dress literally broke. And she, like, Emma Stone has, in a similar way to some of our favorite weirdos in pop culture, an energy of just like beautiful clumsiness. Like she's just she's very real.
It's lovable to watch her freak out.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that we don't have the answers to this, and what's done is done. I have no doubt in my mind that Lily Gladstone will get to the stage again. I mean, she similarly, even without the gold, is going to get that nominee bump. She's a name now. She's an internet darling now.
Yep.
She's a person that has a story that people want to believe in, both in terms of the cultural effects and representation, but also in strictly in the entertainment of it all. The high school girl that was most likely to win an Oscar is now this grown woman competing for the Oscar.
For Oscars, yeah.
You can even find Lily Gladstone. It can still come true. You can find Lily Gladstone as a host instructor on those crash course YouTube videos from like 12, 15 years ago. Like,
it's incredible.
She's been in there. So it's like, really still so proud of her, and she is like monumental in the movie. And
if nothing else, right? If nothing else, Marty will take her again. Right? Like, we know he likes to work with people.
Put her in put her in Jesus or whatever it's gonna be called.
That seems earned.
Yeah, something. Yeah. Damn. Absolutely. So she's phenomenal. That does it for the big 5 awards. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say, like, I think this is sort of a good moment to acknowledge the losers in a little bit of a way, because for the second year running, there are times where, like, I wasn't mad, but it felt wrong that there are movies who got blanked. And like last year, it was Fabelmans, it was Banshees. Like, it just felt not right.
It's like, and it's like, get some more gold in here.
Yeah. I'm gonna take
more gold, not take away their statues.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, and this was similar with Maestro and Killers of the Flower Moon in particular, where I remember watching Maestro. Even now on my letterbox, it's like, I better see some goddamn Oscars being handed out. Right? Like, that's what I like. Bradley Cooper like blew me away. Carey Mulligan too, but it's I knew that was going to be a harder one for her. I think Bradley had more of a chance than she did.
It just worked out in like for that and for Killers. Like, who are we to be like, oh, poor Martin Scorsese? Like, of course not. But like, it was like Martin Scorsese doing a tour de force film in the 2020s. So, this man has had, I pointed this out before, either critical darlings, box office hits, or box office hits that are also critical darlings. In the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s.
It speaks for itself. What else? What else? Like, there's nothing.
So but it's like it's crazy. It speaks to the caliber of that category that he doesn't just walk over everybody.
Yeah.
In fact, many would argue there's an anti-Marty bias from the Academy.
Possibly, yeah. I mean,
because he has been Spielberg's got 2, and George was never making those types of movies. Coppola's got his. Marty didn't get his till The Departed, and has not gotten since. And so that's like, I don't know. Maybe there's beef with some other old man.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
But
he's clearly not hurting. Clearly had a good time. We all saw the "I'm Still Ken" video.
Bro, Francesca Scorsese. Scorsese is my favorite documentarian. Just for filming her dad with her phone. I have to get her on the show sometime. Like, it's so funny. I appreciate that you did that moment for the people that like movies that are so good that they scream should be showered in accolades. Like, you can see
this was the best symbols. I think this was the best year I've known in a long time.
It was a pretty incredible group. 2022 is an incredible group as well.
Yeah.
With Everything Everywhere and Fabelmans and Banshees and oh my God, what's the other one? There were a lot of good ones. The Batman, which didn't get any nominations, bastards. I mean, 2022 had Glass Onion, which didn't get anything. Like, there's always that, but this was an especially strong year. Small little winners that you want to throw out, or anything you want to throw out before we talk about I'm Just Ken and then wrap up?
Godzilla -1 visual effects.
Hell yeah.
You love to see it, right?
You do love to see it.
Them being there in the first place was fantastic. And I think Poor Things winning a lot of the technical stuff was really great, because that is such a again, the specificity of that art, of that style, of everything about it was like, it was very, very exciting, and yeah, just great work that deserved its awards. And of course, the GOAT, John Williams, extending his record that he
So
set
many
last
noms.
year, or was it last year?
God.
Yeah, he set it last year, of nominations for, what is it, Living Person or something. So yeah, long may it continue for as long as he got it.
Indeed, and Ludwig ends up winning that category, of course.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Super deserved. Another Oppenheimer
Genius.
win. The Last Repair Shop, I have been championing that online as much as I can. Check it out on Disney Plus if you haven't. That's a documentary short. Lots of good stuff, and several great performances. I'm a big Billie Eilish fan. Loved hearing her song. She picked up her second Oscar, which means Billie Eilish has more Oscars than Martin Scorsese, which is just like a stat that should not be. And again, is no malice toward her. It just should not be. I love her. I think she's brilliant. I love her brother Phineas. I think he's brilliant. But even with one of the biggest music superstars on the bill that night, in the world, a genuine generational pop star performed,
who we already also kind of knew was winning the Oscar.
Yes,
right.
And she is not who people talked about.
Yeah,
because Ryan Gosling, who, it should be noted, is a song and dance man. I think people forget. Like, Mickey Mouse Club as a kid. He has his band, Dead Man's Bones, La La Land. He did all the dancing and singing. He can do it. But oh boy, you have the power of him and Ncuti Gatwa and Kingsley Benadir and Simu Liu and fucking Slash for some reason.
Oh my God.
It was this I'm Just Ken performance tore it down unironically. That's the power of Ken, is that he's never approached this like it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's not a joke.
It was like, I knew when we were watching it, it was like, oh, we're experiencing something. Like we are living in a moment that will be on lists, like one of those things. And yeah, like I think it was just like, it was like the Super Bowl halftime show. Like it was just like the biggest thing.
People on their feet, choreography.
I didn't expect it. Like honestly, like I knew they'd make a deal out of it the same way they kind of shamefully made a deal out of We Don't Talk About Bruno by like just trying to ham it in there because it wasn't a nominee. But like, we knew it was going to be a thing. We knew this was an exciting thing, but yeah, like I could not have expected it. And what was it? Is it like riffing off of Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah.
Is it Diamonds?
Our girl's best friend.
Yeah. Riffing off that. So there's already just this like instant hit of like old Hollywood going into it.
And the meta aspect too of like starting it sitting with Billy and Margot.
Yeah.
And Margot's real laughter sort of summing up the dynamic.
It was so good. Like that part alone was maybe my favorite because it's just like, it's Billy behind him covering your face. And then it just sort of becomes the camera like goes past Mario. She's cracking up. And it's like, it's so serious, but also it's so evident that they are having a laugh. Right. Like,
yes. And putting the karaoke lyrics on screen and letting Greta and America Ferrera and Margot sing and Emma Stone, him going up to Emma Stone because their history. Like they've been in 3 films together and different kinds of films, and they have a great friendship. It was just like, like, did Ryan Gosling take home his supporting or his song Oscar? No, but he stole the whole show. Like that's
he
his
took the night.
He took the night. And I think it's a great note to wrap this conversation on. We did not plan for this to be exhaustive. I want to do more movie stuff. Maybe we'll do a summer movie preview or something like that. And we're going to have a way more in-depth, similar conversation on your show on the Imperial Senate podcast feed, where we're going to talk about 2023 films and recent stuff and awards and just sort of all of this, but in the exhaustive, you don't have to see us version. So tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find Yub Nub, which just came back. when we're recording this
episode 0 just launched
today.
Yeah, which is just a little intro, so nothing too meaty yet. But the first episode should be out later this week. That is going to be on the Imperial Senate podcast feed, wherever you find your podcasts, it'll be there. And then you can follow that show at Imp Senate Pod on Twitter. You can follow me at Niquicious. That's Naquicious. And yeah, it's going to be another great year. We're going to be sort of in this, in this similar place this time next year, and celebrating a lot of new things that I think are going to be really exciting.
Hell yeah. Indeed. And then as for the show, you're here on the Anytime YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are somebody that joins us weekly for Anytime with Ken and Alden on Fridays, that's 11 Pacific, 2 Eastern, and you're checking this out, or you're checking out Ken's news or anything that we're doing here, supplemental content on the channel, thank you for joining us. If this is how you're finding us, welcome to Anytime. It is indeed anytime, except for Fridays when it is 11 and 2. That is not
specific time.
Yeah, that is specific time with Ken and Alden. It's our pop culture, society, political, radio inspired style talk show, but we want to also do stuff like this, lean into our passions, not be beholden to we need to hit this. I want to talk about the Oscars. I have a friend here that could talk about the Oscars. We want to do more stuff like that. So hit us up at Anytime on Air. Hit me up everywhere for Star Wars and other stuff at that Alden Diaz, ThatAldenDiaz. All the links for everything are going to be below if you're listening on the podcast feed. Thank you so much. But for right now, we are out of here. For Anytime with Ken Alden, I have been Alden. This has been Nikki. We'll see you at the movies.